Hi, guys. Ah, I just had a very full day. As you know, or may not know, I have my working hours from 11 to 4 every day. And during that time, I do what I need to do to build my business. So I keep it very specific in that time frame. And I just got done with several back-to-back coaching calls, serving my mastermind clients and some private clients that I have, as well as doing a strategy session. So all that fit into the hours that I'm working. So I wanted to talk to you about this very important subject about boundaries for entrepreneurs. And I want to tell you it's one of the most critical things for you to develop. As a matter of fact, it's been my focus since this last year, over the last year. I want to tell you what happened. About a year ago, I had a dream, and it was very bizarre, but it was right before my birthday. My birthday is March 23rd. It's coming up next week. But in my dream, I had a dream of a deer with a mountain lion head. And I looked into the meaning of each one of those animals to see what they meant. Like, what did they symbolize? And I saw that the deer symbolized grace, elegance, and compassion. And the mountain lion represented boundaries, leadership, and decisiveness. At the time, I was in the middle of a very difficult situation, a joint venture partnership situation that was giving me some challenges. And I was like, oh, I am being invited to step into the mountain lion. Like, I can still be the deer that is driven by compassion and grace and elegance, but I need to step into my leadership, decisiveness, and boundaries, particularly boundaries. So now it's been a year that I've been practicing my boundaries as a woman, as an individual, as an entrepreneur. And I have to tell you, in my opinion, it's one of the most critical skills that we can develop as individuals for personal mastery, but also as entrepreneurs. If we're clear about our boundaries, it actually makes us better leaders in our businesses. It actually makes us better salespeople, and multiple things that it assists in. Now, I want to tell you about something very personal for me around boundaries. I grew up with a mom who did not honor my boundaries at all. As a matter of fact, like there was no boundaries emotionally that she would honor. There were no boundaries even. I never felt like I even had my own safe space in the house, and so that was very difficult for me. And when I went to college, there was in a grad school, there was the counseling department had this thing where the counselors were trying to earn hours for their licensure in counseling, so they would actually give away free counseling sessions. So I went in at the time because my husband was courting me. I wasn't married at the time, but he was pursuing me. We were in college. We were living in separate states. But he was trying to pursue me. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to marry this guy. I don't know if that's the right decision. He didn't come from parents who exactly had the most amazing marriage. And I definitely didn't come from parents who had the most amazing marriage. So I was actually scared about committing to marriage to my boyfriend at the time. Like, if he did ask me to marry him. So I took advantage of the free counseling that was taking place at the university to go in, and I thought I was going to talk to them about whether or not I should marry this man. And I'll tell you what came out of it. What came out of it was the counselor said, you have absolutely no boundaries with your mom. And for the next 2 years of counseling sessions that I got through my university were focused around boundaries. So as an individual, this has been an area that I've had to cultivate and develop. And I would say for the most part, more than the average individual, I have a pretty strong sense of having my own, like standing up for myself and being assertive to a certain degree, like more than I experience the average individuals having. And so even myself, when I had this dream, knowing that I needed to work on my boundaries even further, and I'll just give you an example. In this situation, I was getting texts and emails, and like this person was like hounding me on the weekends to reply and to interact and to do business. And it's really clear for me that I don't want to work on the weekends. Like, I've done that. I've burned myself out in the past doing that. But that was one of my boundaries. And so I had to institute with that individual, like being super clear. And I knew I would be misunderstood initially. And this is what happens. These are some key things I want you to know about boundaries. Most of the time, well, pay attention to where you are feeling resentful. Okay? Pay attention to where you're feeling resentful, because if you're feeling resentment, it means that you're out of integrity with yourself. There's some particular way that you want to be living. There's some particular thing that you want, and you're experiencing differently. And so you're creating resentment and you're feeling resentful about the other person. But what is happening is, I look at resentment as a gift to myself. It's a gift that tells me, Vanessa, where are you out of integrity with yourself that you need to clean this up? You need to clean this up. You need to clear up the expectations. You need to clear up the agreements. You need to clear up in a conversation with this person so that you can honor yourself. And so this past year, I've been practicing that. And, you know, Tim Ferriss says the most successful people in life are willing to have the most difficult conversations. And so it's been a practice of mine to see how can I become masterful at communicating when I need to communicate a boundary, but do it just like in my dream, which is with the gentleness of a deer, but with the strength of the mountain lion. And the truth is if you give that to yourself as a challenge to do that, how can you gracefully communicate your boundaries? You can honor yourself and at the same time honor the other person. And it means doing it in such a way that it doesn't mean making them wrong for it. It's just saying like, hey, you know what? As I've reflected on this is what I think could be a better way that we could do this, because I'm noticing myself, you know, being frustrated by this thing in particular. And so I just really want to create some clarity around this that would be helpful, I think, for both of us. And just gently communicating it, honoring the other person. If you come from the place that you're doing what you need to be in integrity with yourself, it's so much easier to communicate boundaries. Now, the other thing, besides resentment being a gift to you to show you where you're out of integrity with yourself, the other thing about boundaries that I want to share is a lot of times the reason why we do not uphold our boundaries is that we're afraid of losing connection with somebody. We're afraid that we will either lose love or connection or some other benefit that we get from our relationship with them. And so I just want you to notice if there's a boundary that you are not upholding in your own life, is there any fear that you have about losing something that you perceive that you gain from being in relationship with that individual? And if so, just inquire and say, is it true? Is it true? Where am I giving up something that's true for myself in order to maintain relationship, in order to maintain receiving love from this person? And it just allows you to see like, okay, wait a minute. I am sacrificing my true self in order to get something that is not even built on something sustainable because I'm not being true to myself. And it's, for me, one of my core values is being true to myself. I know being in integrity with myself, honoring my own boundaries, and learning how to relate to others in relationship where it honors them has made all the difference to me. Now, I want to talk about how this relates to sales. One of the things that I've noticed as I train individuals around sales is the fact that sometimes somebody, you'll wonder, like, did they say yes, but they, to call them back, but they really are not interested? Or did they say, yeah, they want to think about it because they really want to say, they really want to think about it? Or are they saying that to basically people? Okay, that was interesting. I just got a call come in. Whenever you question whether or not somebody is doing something to people please you, I want you to evaluate, where might you be people pleasing? Because once I started to clean up, and this has been a practice of mine as an adult, as I mentioned, because I didn't have a mom who honored my boundaries. But as I've become to make sure that when I say yes, I mean yes. And when I mean no, I mean no. And I don't say yes when I really mean no. So being super clear about your yes and your no, and don't say yes when you really mean no just to people please. If your integrity with yourself around your yes and no, you can honor others and you have a greater level of confidence that they're being true. So if they say yes, you're trusting that they say that they're meaning yes. And if they say no, you're honoring their no as well. But if you're questioning, did they really mean no or did they really mean yes? Then it's this place where we as individuals do this people pleasing thing and we don't speak what's really the truth for us. And so I just encourage you, like, be the only person you can be responsible for is yourself. So be true to yourself, clean up your word, and then that allows you to honor others and trust that they too will be adults and say yes when they mean yes or say no when they mean no. And then that way you can follow up confidently, or you can reach out to them confidently because you're trusting they're an adult and that their yes means yes or that their no means no. But it comes from us being in integrity with ourselves first. These are huge things that I want to share with you. This is like just a micro lesson that came up because one of my friends brought up the fact that somebody wasn't respecting her no. And this is a lesson that I teach my boys all the time. Respect the no. Respect your brother's no. And many of us didn't have a voice growing up that let us say no when we really wanted to say no. And so I just want to empower you. One, to get clear about what your boundaries may be. When something doesn't feel right, honor that. Like, what would feel right instead? And how can you communicate that? Either to your team member, or to your client, or to your vendor, or to whoever you may be, with a number of individuals. And so therefore, who is it that you need to clean it up with? And get that boundary lovingly. Can you be the deer and the mountain lion? And practice this. And one of the things that I'm doing a webinar this coming Friday. If you go to webinarwithvanessa.com, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can authentically market. And the key thing around this is, though, that you can only have to work 4 hours a day. And too many of us are working beyond the amount of hours that we really want to work because this area around boundaries is really messy in our lives. We could spend some time cleaning it up and honor ourselves. And I promise that you can hit your goals by honoring your boundaries, paying attention to where you're spending your time, your energy, and saying yes when you mean yes and saying no when you mean no. And creating these new ways of relating to others, because truly the way others treat you, you are a part of helping to communicate and making clear to them how they can treat you. And if someone feels like they're disrespecting you, then it's your responsibility to lovingly communicate that and clean that up so that you can maintain relationship, have a bit more smooth working relationship, and mostly honor yourself and honor them in the process. So just a quick message on boundaries. I'm going to be sharing more messages like this. If this was valuable to you, let me know in the comments below, because I'm going to be talking more about like what's happening in this inner world inside of us as entrepreneurs that we need to address and pay attention to get the outward results that we desire, which is more money, more clients, work less hours, more clarity in our business. And the only way we're going to get those things is to also address the inner world. of what it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur. And boundaries is one of my biggest lessons that I share with entrepreneurs because I think it's so, so critical. So share with me, what's your relationship with boundaries? Are you good at them? Do you have clean boundaries? Do you feel good about your interactions with others? Or do you have a tendency to say yes when you really mean no? And I just encourage you, just like my dream was a year ago with the deer with the mountain lion head, that you can gracefully communicate your boundaries and do so from a place of grace. And you can actually lovingly leave the other person feeling better, not worse, feeling better about the relationship and stronger trust and confidence because they know that you're going to speak truthfully. Dana, yes, you're acknowledging boundaries are hard. Yes, and learning to say no, it'll make such a big difference. Such a big difference. So I encourage you, if you're just jumping on the line now, to go back and listen to this video. This is really an important message that I want to empower entrepreneurs, and it's been my lifelong lesson, and I'll probably continue to share stuff around this because I did not grow up learning boundaries very well, and it's taken a very particular focus on mastering it to feel good about it. And so therefore I'll share these snippets. And if you want to join me on the webinar on Friday, go to webinarwithvanessa.com, where I'll be sharing with you authentic marketing, the 3 actions you need to be taking in your business in order to create clients consistently and market yourself online in a way that actually feels good. Okay? So I look forward to sharing that with you. And let me know what you thought about the boundaries lesson. This is me, raw and real, coming from my dining room, no makeup on or anything, but lots of love, and this is an important message you needed to hear. Beijos.